Located in southwestern France, Ressel Cave holds lots of memories for divers, some pleasant and some unpleasant. We'll explore how a group of divers plan to push the limits of the cave to reach Sump 5 on August 3, 2013. This exploration proved more challenging than they had anticipated when their equipment started to fail and their lives were at risk. Would they make it or not? Would other consecutive dives be successful? Several caverns in France's Lot and Dordogne regions are appropriate for divers of all skill levels and are located in lovely agricultural settings. The Dordogne, the Lot, and the Célé are the three rivers where sites are most commonly found. The Midi-Pyrenees region, which spans from the boundaries of the Dordogne Valley to the highest peaks of the Pyrenees and forms the heart of southwestern France, includes the Lot area and its northernmost portion. Every year, cave divers from all over the world come back to dive here. France is one of the best places in the world for cave diving, with over 20,000 caves known to exist. Because most European divers take their cave training there instead of in Mexico or Florida, the region in France is well known. Ressel is one of the most well-known caves in the area. This underwater cave, located in the center of French cave diving country, is renowned for being one of the more intriguing, tough, and technical cave dives. The facilities are pleasant, there's a spacious parking area for vehicles, and ultimately, there is also a conveniently positioned structure with a bathroom. Divers just need to walk around 330 feet from the parking lot to the River Célé entry point, where they may set up all their dive equipment. The entrance is quite large at 492 feet, before splitting into two arms that rejoin at a distance of 984 feet. A series of drops continue till they reach a depth of 252 feet, before ending and ascending once more to reach a dry area of the cave around 2 kilometers from the entrance. In 1968, Speleo Club divers Martin and Debras dived to 492 feet. The line was only expanded to 984 feet, with a maximum depth of 100 feet in 1973. Fantoli and Toulon-Doyen reached Pit 4 and descended 147 feet in 1975. During the years, more exploration was done, particularly by Joachim Hassemeyer in the early 1980s, when he buried his knife in a rock and attached his line to it at a depth of 3,609 feet into the system. That knife is still there. Ressel Cave has been the subject of numerous expeditions in the past. One of those was performed with a rebreather and an open circuit. As time went on, cave divers became more accustomed to the cave, which facilitated further investigation. The first dive to the other side of the first sump took 6 hours. It was discovered that, with practice, the timing could be shortened to 3 hours for the same dive on successive dives. This is because during cave diving, it's crucial to move cautiously yet steadily. After all, doing so will shorten the decompression period. To memorize the location, reduce time lost, and increase the efficiency and fluidity of the dive in Ressel Cave, multiple dives were conducted for several years. Therefore, on August 3, 2013, after much preparation, the first Belgian cave diving team successfully entered deeper terrain in Ressel Cave in Lot, France. This undoubtedly took years of preparation. The mission was an exploratory dive that would last for a couple of hours. Let's know more about the crew that made it possible. Without the assistance of a team, an exploratory dive into a cave of this difficulty was not feasible. There were extensive preparations, including material testing by a few members of the diving club, Technical Diving Antwerp, and the Flemish cave exploration group Science Explorers. Eric Wouters, Ronnie Breuer, Sonny Versweveld, Kenny and Angie van Doorn, and Frederik van den Plas were on the dive expedition team. The tasking work of setting up the tanks and the bailouts was completed by the support divers Ronnie, Sonny, Kenny, and Angie. The crew also included Hedvig Dierard, the Caving Club's photographer. Despite having undergone recent knee surgery, Rick van den Einde, the founder of Technical Diving Antwerp, offered his years of experience in this exploration. One can say that this is a perfect team for a challenging dive. There is a need for adequate preparation before participating in a demanding dive like this. The objective was to enter the cave and explore as far as possible. They wanted to reach Sump 5 during this exploration dive. Inspiration rebreathers were utilized to limit the number of breathing gases for the logistics. The 1060 diluent in 3-liter bottles and pure oxygen were the gas mixtures for the 2 push divers. Support divers Ronnie and Sonny placed an open-circuit bailout for Sump 1. Some more tanks were positioned at 3,609 feet. The equipment left in Sump 1 at 3,609 feet would be collected for the real push-through to complete the crossing of Sump 1 and all subsequent sumps. The actual crossing began with 1 CCR for each diver, along with a scooter and a 20-liter tank filled with 1545. Other materials that were abandoned after 3,609 feet would be collected. There were 4 scooters utilized, 3 Bonex, and 1 silent submerge. Many cave divers are familiar with the beginning of Sump 1. Many of them had their training there. Why? It has a pretty simple entrance that is broad and well lit. Most people dive into this initial system up to a depth of 1,312 feet, where a well-known deep drop is situated. The expedition's main goal was to push through this sump and make it to the other side. The longest dive was approximately 2 kilometers long and reached a maximum depth of 246 feet. The majority of that distance was between 164 feet and 255 feet below the surface. Reaching the next sumps and perhaps the cave's exit was the expedition's secondary goal. After 47 minutes, the team got to the vertical wall where Sump 1's ascent begins. Eric was aware of how quickly things would go from prior experience. This was where the deco in Sump 1 began. Sump 1 took 122 minutes from start to finish. A total of 120 minutes was spent underwater in Sump 1. Within NDL limits, divers explored the other sumps. It'll take 12 hours to travel across to Sump 5 and back. 5.5 hours total will be spent underwater, and the remaining time used to transport equipment between the sumps. There were 2 rest periods of 15 minutes each. Although the dive itself wouldn't be too challenging, moving the equipment between the sumps made this dive quite difficult. The level of CO2 is very high between the sumps. Sadly, despite all their planning, something went wrong. One of the Bonex scooters was mistakenly dropped just past Sump 4 and flooded as a result. It continued to function until the weight became intolerable. On the way back into Sump 3, another scooter was exhausted. Opening the tank caused one high-pressure hose to split apart. It was a brand-new MyFlex high-pressure hose. Therefore, diving the Ressel cave up to Sump 5 proved to be a significant difficulty for the Belgian cave divers. It was not just incredibly complicated, but also very motivating because of the years of training, getting physically fit, performing deco calculations, filling the tanks, making preparations, and thinking out logistics. Also associated with this dive was a significant psychological challenge that was both physically and mentally taxing. Therefore, to these divers, the cave's end remained undiscovered. That was not, however, the end of exploration at Ressel Cave. In recent years, there have been numerous explorations, such as the Emergence de Ressel survey until Credit Hall, during a dive exploration from the team of Gunther Faul and Pedro Belordi in 2020. The purpose of this project was to search for continuations in the last sump from the T-junction, where the passage splits into the north and south tunnel. Besides, they wanted to search for the fall at the end of the Ressel cave system for a possible passage through the boulder choke. Unfortunately, they found out that there was no way you can move through that passage. so the North Tunnel was closed. However, they were able to create a survey of the whole polygon until Credit Hall on just one dive, using the ENC2 device, an underwater electronic navigation console. They managed to create a great navigational aid for divers to help them navigate in cold, murky waters. Over the years, some incidents have happened in this cave system. The first occurrence involved Polish cave diver Robert Kozubek, who arrived in France at the beginning of May 2021. "We are starting the full cave diver course," he captioned a shot that he sent to his Facebook site. He had a solo dive planned for May 8, 2021, which was also his 53rd birthday at the time. Robert had been diving since 1987 and was a scuba diving teacher, so he was an experienced diver. Since 2007, Robert was the owner of the Bork Company. He assisted disabled people and worked with teaching disabled divers in the Handicapped Scuba Association system. He was also an associate member of the Nautica Underwater Tourism Center Association. He authored research papers on diving for impaired individuals and diving methodology for people with disabilities. The diving exploration of one of Europe's most challenging caverns was a fantastic adventure and a huge challenge for Robert, who had previously done a lot of caving. He proceeded in his determination to educate and develop as a diver. He taught swimming and first aid classes in addition to diving, and he held a master's in physical education. He had been a lifeguard, a non-commissioned officer in the Polish Army, a paratrooper, and a member of the 56th Combat Helicopter Regiment. Before his birthday dive, he participated in a TDI cave instructor training course in France with a few other Polish instructors. However, very few cave divers will enroll in the TDI cave instructor training because of the requirements. For instance, cave divers who wish to enroll in this course must have completed over 200 cave dives, hold a TDI introductory cave instructor certification, and have held an open water teacher certification for at least 2 years. This demonstrates Robert's expertise as a cave diver. Robert also posted some technical details about his intended dive equipment on Facebook on the day of the incident. He planned to spend about 3 hours on this dive and cover a total distance of 8,202 feet. Robert encountered a challenging circumstance on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. as he was beginning to dive. Around him were other practitioners. When the experience first began, he was not yet 32 feet below the surface. He had to be pulled out of the water by other divers, including Swiss, French, and German divers. He was quickly pulled out of the water and given a cardiac massage before being cared for by paramedics who raced to the area. An experienced instructor was in charge of a field trip when the catastrophe happened. She was the one who massaged Robert's heart while he waited for assistance. He was brought to a Cahors hospital while still unconscious and in serious condition. Robert tragically died in the hospital 3 days after the event. It is unknown if a heart problem or a technical malfunction led to the accident. Authorities in France looked into the disaster's causes. Robert might have passed away as a result of the closed ADV-induced hypoxia, according to one of the opinions. Robert was unable to safely complete the intended dive because, according to his previous CCR instructor, he lacked the knowledge, expertise, and experience necessary. He hadn't finished the cave instructor course they had previously discussed. Robert was certified to undertake single-stage CCR diving in open water with air diluent, minimum oxygen of 21% or above, without a DPV, diver's propulsion vehicle, at the time of the incident. It was evident that Robert didn't adhere to all the standards and scope of his training. He should have gotten at least CCR Trimix, CCR Cave, and DPV Cave certifications for the dive he had planned. The second incident happened on October 7, 2021. On a Thursday, at 12:30 p.m., a 39-year-old Belgian cave diver went for a dive into the Ressel cave. He was with 3 other cave exploration club members from Belgium. this crew was going to enter the Ressel cave for the first time. The Belgian diver entered the cave to explore it, but he became stuck after descending 32 feet and approximately 65 feet from the entrance to the resurgence. The Belgian diver may not have been able to fit through the passage, so they paid particular attention to it during their preparation, study, and briefing. The diver tried to fit through the cave's restriction, became caught, and his rebreather's counterlungs compressed and emptied as a result. His hands and arms were extended in front of him in a posture that prevented him from reaching the rebreather's control valves or his bailout. His teammates came to rescue him and called the emergency services after he failed to return to the surface. Unfortunately, his teammates were not able to remove him from where he was stuck, and he finally died of cardiac arrest. At the depth the deceased was trapped, there would have been enough breathable gas for about 5 hours if the counterlungs had not compressed and the controls had been reachable, which may have been more than enough time for a rescue to be made instead of a recovery. The deceased diver was removed by the fire department's rescue squad in around 45 minutes, and their assistance ended just after 5 o'clock. We would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, take a dive on the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we come back with another exciting cave diving story.